This is the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. We're Luke and Susie, and this is the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
What a privilege that I have to be in a studio with you on a regular basis.
Yes.
It's an amazing... My wife, and just beautiful. But I do sometimes, I've got my phone here as well, which is great because then I've got 2 for 1. I've got the 2 closest people in my world. It's some interesting research, and I say interesting, almost interesting sad,
yes,
about how important our smartphones are, and that maybe you might be usurped pretty soon.
Well, this is the thing. Aldi Mobile are the ones who've come out with this research revealing that almost 9 in 10 Australians, okay,
right,
get that in your head, almost 9 in 10 Australians, nearly 90% of people are saying that their smartphone is their number one companion ahead of their parents, their pets and their friends. Dr. Justin Coulson, this is significant research and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
Have you seen The Lord of the Rings?
I've not.
Oh, wow.
I've seen part. I've seen the first one.
Well, you know who Gollum is,
yes,
right? Gollum loses the ring. Bilbo Baggins ends up
Yeah.
with the ring. And do you remember what Gollum calls the ring?
Precious.
Precious. Yes, my precious. The wicked hobbitses. They've taken their precious. Well, have you ever tried to take a device off somebody? I was going to say off one of your children, but even off your
I've
husband,
tried
wife,
taking it off
partner,
Luke.
spouse.
It does not work. It's not a good idea.
It's like Luke becomes Gollum. The wicked wife says they've taken the precious. I must have the precious.
So, yeah.
And we actually we treat our devices as if they are the precious, and we will cross heaven and earth to keep our devices close to us.
Yep.
I do this activity because I speak in schools all around the country and in corporations all around the country, and I teach people how to have a healthy digital diet and specifically how to have a healthy relationship with their phone, because I think most of us have unhealthy relationships with our phone.
And we deceive ourselves into believing that our relationship with our phone is still relationship with people because we're on social media and we're, occasionally using it for actual phone calls.
Yeah, it's so much more than a phone now, isn't it?
But it's not, is it? It's
No.
It's not that.
But I do this activity where I get everyone to take their phone out, unlock it, and then hand it to the person next to them. You want to watch people squirm? I'm not just talking about teenagers here. I'm talking about adults.
Oh, no, it's exactly how I feel. Susie goes, "Oh, hey, can I have your phone?" And I'm like, "Well, where's yours?" and she's like, "It's in the other room." I went, "You can go get it." And there's no reason. There's absolutely no reason why I should hesitate to give it to her.
And
It's
you
just
do
a
give me
device.
your phone.
I do in the end, but I feel that exactly what you just described. It's very uneasy.
We actually, it's been scientifically shown that people experience separation anxiety from their phones.
Yes, that's what I'm feeling, Suze.
The heart starts to race. The sweat glands start to release a little bit of extra moisture.
Yeah.
And we begin to feel really, really uncomfortable with it. There's been some great studies published in the last few years, and by the way, we're going through a massive experiment right now. Technology has never been pervasive like this, and rather than waiting until a bit of data's in to see how it's going to affect us, as a culture, we have just gone, I love this, and we've given it a great big bear hug, and we've consumed it whole as bolus without knowing what it's doing to us. But the data that is coming through, and it is still early days really, the data is, I think, providing us with some fairly ominous warning signs that we've got to do something about it.
It is the Happy Families podcast with all too many people these days saying their phone is their best friend. Dr. Justin Coulson speaking on this a little bit more up next.
Everyone wants their family to be happy, but so much gets in the way. Work stress, commitments, and our children's challenging behaviour are some of the usual suspects. And we can all tidy up our parenting style and get clearer about what will actually make our family happier. 21 Days to a Happier Family is the best-selling parenting book by Dr. Justin Coulson, with answers to both common and complicated parenting problems. Combining cutting-edge scientific insights with real examples of family life in the trenches, you'll find dozens of strategies for making your family happier. 21 Days to a Happier Family. Available online and from booksellers everywhere and at happyfamilies.com.au.
It's the Happy Families podcast with Dr. Justin Coulson. Luke and Susie with you here as well. And Justin, we are talking about this statistic that's come out, talking about the very high proportion of people who call their phone their best companion. What do we do to actually go about battling this addiction that we have, this obsession that we have with our phones?
Well, let me define it in the negative. Let's focus about what we shouldn't do first. Okay, number one, we shouldn't be waking up in the morning and the first thing that we look at being our phone. especially before we look at our spouse,
Yeah.
or our partner, our husband, our wife, or our kids. I mean, and if the phone is the first thing that really gets your quality attention in the mornings, if the phone has become your early morning coffee, I mean, coffee's bad enough for you anyway, right? But but now we're doing this psychological thing where we're going boom, into our brain, bang, and we're hitting it with all of this. It's not actually a very good way to wake up. It's bad for your brain. Similarly, if it's the last thing you look at night, you're not setting yourself up for a successful physical night of sleep or mental night either. It's just not good preparation or follow-up from sleep. But what it shows more than anything is that we've got this compulsion to be close to it. We sleep within our room. Sometimes we'll wake up because we'll become aware that somebody sent us a message, and even though we're on silent mode, the room has just become illuminated with that soft glow of the phone, and there it is. There's that glow, and you're like, it's morning. Oh, no, it's not. It's just somebody's
somebody loves me.
At 1 a.m,
Someone really
somebody's
loves me.
thinking about me. That's right. But there's a handful of other things. I mean, look, let's go to the healthy digital diet question specifically. When we're eating and consuming food and drink, there's a food pyramid that indicates that some foods should be consumed a lot and some should be minimised and even avoided. And it's the same with our device. A lot of people say to me, how much screen time should my kids be allowed to have? Well, there are some guidelines. Like for kids that are under 2, the answer is 0. And for kids who are a bit over 2, maybe up to 4 or 5, the answer is as little as possible and hopefully no more than half to an hour a day.
Yeah.
Minimise it for the little kids especially. And Australians typically completely ignore those guidelines in a significant and serious and damaging way. But how much isn't really the right question? I think what kind matters more. It's kind of like saying to a dietitian, how much food should I eat every day? The dietitian's going to say, well, it's not about how much, it's about what kind.
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing on our devices? If we've got a digital junk food diet, then that's terribly unhealthy. If we've got a really nutritional digital diet where we're using our devices and our screens wisely to work and to contribute and to learn and develop and grow, and if our children are doing the same, then I think a little bit more time isn't going to hurt at all. In fact, it might be beneficial with a couple of other really important things. You've got to make sure that you and your kids are getting the physical activity that you need. I say to my kids when they want to be on their screens, of course you can, once you've had a swim.
Yeah.
Or once you've jumped on the trampoline, once you've been for a bike ride, once you've done something outside.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, I've done that. 6 minutes later, can I do something? Can I get on my screens now? I say, well, have you caught up with a friend? Have you spent some time face to face with somebody? Have you done your chores? Have you done any relevant schoolwork? Have you read a real book? And once your kids have done all, see, we want our kids to have a whole life.
Yeah.
And we need to do the same thing, by the way.
Yes.
But I challenge you. By the way, before I give you the challenge, I've got a good challenge for you. But I think that, when you're with people and they're staring at their phones, research shows that the more time we're staring at screens, the poorer our social and emotional intelligence. It also shows that our relationships deteriorate. The phones actually make us dumb socially and emotionally. Next time you're with people, just put your phone away and keep it away. Actually try and do that. It's really, really tough. I have this thing when I'm out with friends. We get our phones and we put them down on the table, face down.
Yeah.
First person to look at their phone pays for the lunch.
Great.
And it guarantees that everybody has a really great time. Studies have been shown that even the mere presence of a phone decreases the quality of the interaction, the quality of the trust, the quality of the emotional connection. So here's my challenge for you. This week, go to bed every night and make sure that in at least the 30 minutes prior to going to bed, you don't look at your device.
Brilliant.
And when you wake up, make sure that at least the first 30 minutes, no device.
Brilliant. I love that.
I can handle the first 30 minutes. The last, I've got into a habit, and this is just strange. Just as I get into bed, I dim the light on my phone, and I play a couple of hands of solitaire. And that's the last thing I do. And I get sort of a bit sleepy, and I go, all right, that's enough. The phone goes down. And it's just become this little, it's my little go-to-sleep routine. And I'm going to struggle, Justin.
Just before my, I won't say who it was, a family member, just before she divorced her husband, I remember him saying to her one day, there's nobody I'd rather lay in bed next to while they stare at their phone than you. ouch.
Yeah.
Look, they get in the way. I think that in the way that smoking, when you walk past people who are smoking now, and everyone just sort of looks at them and goes, "Oh, nobody does that around here anymore." I know that some people still smoke, and I want to be sensitive to the fact that some people actually want to do it, and that's fine. But as a community, as a society, we've kind of looked at people who smoke now and said, "Yeah, don't do that around here. It's not considerate." And I think that we're in the next maybe 10 or 15 years, we're going to get to a point like that with devices, where people are going to be like, "Oh, really? You've brought it to the restaurant? Oh, take that outside. If you're going to be on your phone, take it outside. Do it away from other people. It's so rude."
But I think it's I think
Can you
to
imagine
me,
that
I
at the
will
moment?
still defend the social nature of technology and devices when you're not in the space with other people.
Yes.
Like when I travelled overseas, videos and photo sharing, and I could share the experience. Susie was at home, and I felt more connected because of technology with someone I cared about because of it. But when you're in the room with the person or with somebody, and I have it as a rule, when I'm in a meeting or at a coffee with anybody, that phone goes off, and they go, "Oh, you can take it." I go, No. I'm here with you.
Right.
And so I'm going to
'Cause
silence
that's the
that. I'm
message
going to
that
hang
you
that up. I'm going to put it in
Yeah.
put it away.
Spot on. We send this message, don't we? When we're looking at the phone, we're saying, "You don't matter as much as this."
Yeah.
It's a funny one that you mentioned as well, though, Luke. Just briefly on that whole, sharing experiences. The social media aspect of being able to share the great things that you're doing is wonderful. And again, what type versus how much. But this much I will say. There's a couple of studies, and I've experienced it myself, where researchers have found that when we live life through the lens, we tend not to enjoy life as much,
Yes.
Yeah.
and we actually miss out on stuff. I went to a big bike race. I'm a pretty obsessed cyclist. I love riding my pushy, and I used to race competitively, but with 6 kids and a business that makes me travel a lot, I've stopped the competition. But I still love to see a really great bike race. I went to this bike race. I got there early. I was right on the finish line, and I was looking down the straight so I could see the cyclists as they came down the finishing straight, and they were sprinting at like 70 k's an hour. They were giving it everything, and I was looking through my phone and videoing it so that I could share it with everybody. Because, here's the bike race, here I am. And I actually, once they'd crossed the finish line, it occurred to me that because I was trying so intently to film it, I had no idea who'd won.
Yeah.
All I saw was a blur of bikes. If I'd been there and if I'd really been in the moment, I would have had a very different outcome. It's all about mindfulness, and the devices take us away from the moment.
Yeah.
Now, just to recap on the what type versus how much, listening to the Happy Families podcast compared to playing Candy Crush, they're not a comparison, right?
A plus. You're gonna have a lot more fun, and you're gonna level up a lot faster. No, I'm not finished. As a parent, you're going to level up a lot faster as a parent. You're going to be much more mindful and attentive as a parent when you're off Candy Crush and on the Happy Families podcast.
Exactly. Because it's very clear that there are things we can do with our devices which help us to grow and nurture, and even some of the fun stuff. There's nothing wrong with it.
Every now and again, we sit down as a family. I have a daughter who's discovered this comedy troupe from the US called Studio C. She thinks they're the funniest people ever, and there are some really, really funny gags. There's this. I won't go into it, but there's some really funny gags on Studio C. Most of it I find pretty juvenile, but there's a couple of really good ones. And as a family, we'll sit down and we'll just watch YouTube clips of Studio C for 15 or 20 minutes every now and again. Or, we'll laugh at something that's in somebody's Facebook timeline, or there's nothing the matter with a little bit of junk food now and then.
Yeah.
That's fun.
The kids and I've started watching a series called Brain Games. And it's teaching you about different elements of the brain, but it shows all these really cool. And there's in the middle of the show, there's these things that you can do, like put your hand above your head and close your eyes, and then with your other hand try and find your thumb and your finger. And it's teaching things about the brain, but we love it. We love watching it together. So there is some good stuff out there. You've just got to make the choice.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't think that we should ever say that technology is bad. Technology is neither good nor bad. It's what we do with it that matters. But to go right back full circle to where you started this conversation, if we're saying that we prize our phones as precious above our other relationships, then we have a problem. And we need to make sure that we prioritise people ahead of plasma or whatever they're made out of. I'm just trying to keep the alliteration going.
No, I was going with you. It was
beautiful. It felt poetic.
Yeah,
If your phone is your number one companion, like 9 out of 10 other Australians, maybe it's time for a change.
The difference between, say, you and my phone, Suze, is once I've worked out my phone, unless I do an update, I know what to do with it forever.
I keep you on your toes.
You do. You do.
And I just thought of something else as well. You know, the survey says 9 out of 10 people are, in love with their phones. They prioritise it
Number
above
one
other people.
companion, yeah.
So at least that means you're not alone.
Yeah.
Or are you?
Oh,
look at that.
Swings it right round. Dr. Justin Coulson, thank you so much.
Loads of resources are available to help build your family into a happy family, including the great book 21 Days to a Happier Family. You can find more details at happyfamilies.com.au. Books, resources, online courses. That's happyfamilies.com.au. And if you think Dr. Justin Coulson might be a great fit for your event, your community group or your school to come and speak, you can find out more about how you can book him to come along at justincoulson.com.